I don't know if the audience isn't going, whoop, there we go.
It's the Monty that's already gone, by the way, so we've missed that, but...
Monty's gone.
That does make sense.
There it is. By Nook. I still don't know if people at home can hear that. Because we're quite far away, actually. The casters are hidden.
We are.
They can hear, good. Because we're like hiding behind the stage this time.
Can't start any NA airport chants now.
I mean, at this point, I don't think you want to. I think this EU fan base, if they want to hear a little bit more of a success of Map 3, they need to give some energy for BDS here. They need to try and bring it. You know, otherwise NA is going to Church in Arsenal is where we will start this foray. And, well, BDS, what can you do on Soniqs' map that is statistically your favorite?
That's why I expect a bit to come down from BDS, right? That's why I expect him to kind of hit the ground running and make sure that they're able to show that, you know, the last map they played, Border, well, that might have just went away from them, but they are definitely here to show and definitely here to pick up a map and push us to 3, which would be bank. I've mentioned it many, many times before already today, just wrong context, as the decider. But again, first we will have Club coming up next. And we're up in the bottom floor, and the hatches are being reinforced, so that is all, well, basically, you know, basic stuff for Clubhouse. Nothing really that is out of the ordinary that we're seeing.
You're blowing minds right now.
I'm not blowing any minds.
You're really just blowing minds.
I'm just saying that this all looks very, very basic. It's not rocket science, as some would say.
It's not built around being rocket science, it's built around being Clubhouse. Now everybody really knows what the drive here is on the maps, on the sites, and this is a tool hold here from BDS. They have the stretch over the rafters. One of the things that Soniqs were very, very good at on the previous map was pinching and pulling apart faraway players. Okay, Border, it plays differently to Club. It's very aggressive and very short and sharp. But here, the way Soniqs circle around people, the way they sort of get these yellow pings and then build behind it. I mean, look at that. Instantly, Alems is suffering spray from a different angle. EFAC, he's got himself tucked around onto a corner onto Jim. There's pressure coming from Logistics. Soniqs don't waste time.
They're definitely not wasting any time right now, but they also know they need to be quick, specifically on this site. It feels like that they're aware of the fact that there might be 2 players around the gym area. The breach will be coming through. They need to be careful again that there's no high aggression coming out from any of the BDS players, which there was, and GL will be shutting down Nikafak, but Alem's still around.
Yeah, Lems, I mean, he doesn't want to stray too far from the hatch. The drones are coming around from 2 different angles. He's going to get out of there before it becomes a fight. There's nobody watching the route through. Ranchiro's offering some support, and, well, they actually swing into the fight down the long corridor, but otherwise, peeled away, pulled back, and with 1:20 wasted, they've also lost a player. There is the Trackle that's trying to make its way. Alems is being revealed. We don't see it, but we definitely hear it, and he knows it, so he throws himself back down. He's going to maybe bait some of the reveal on that as Soniqs go for a steady clear now of the top 2 floors.
Still though, no real pressure coming down onto the direct middle floor towards the hatches. Yes, Rexon is around there, he's setting himself up with claymores and having the Jacko Inox scanner to make sure no one's out there. But they need to make sure they start opening this up quickly. And as the first set of Excaliburs is being used, it's only going to be 2, just in case there will be some impact tricking going on. Not the case at the first few sets. The next 2 go on also doesn't seem to be tricked out. So Nitro Cell's being tossed in. Alem's aware of the fact that a drone was chasing him.
Yeah, the drone was the reveal. He gets sprayed through though. I'm not entirely sure what the direct angle was. Maybe it was just over the hatch here. He's going to move into it. The yellow pings are continual. And that drone game, it's still so good. From Soniqs, it has absolutely been terrorizing BDS on this showdown so far, and it has no habit of stopping. Shaiko, he tries to step into a fight. There's another drone rolling past. They have 8 able to be used. Shaiko does take the top off, and the head of Rexon gets removed. They're all stacked round. It's 20 seconds, and the drop is coming into the pit. There's a cold kit. Shaiko gets Geo in the drop and the motion. Gunner, he's got it back up, but with that in his foot, he cannot plant immediately. The impact should have the impact. Half for Gunner's health. The rest is Shaiko and Brede. And now the final player is found. And it might have looked like BDS were on the back foot, but they had the last laugh.
Well, they were definitely on the back foot, but they managed to bring it back like they've done so many times before. But again, it's not something you can continue relying upon. So they need to make sure that their early game is going to be that little bit stronger, just so you find that first kill, or at least trade it out from the get-go. Either way, the round is theirs. That's what matters in the end. Now Gym Bedroom up next. What we will most likely see is teams try and avoid CCTV as much as they possibly can, due to that really being the fundamentals of Siege. And if you've made it, if you made it to the semi-finals right now, which clearly both these teams have they? Yes, it happens to be that they are in the semi-finals right now, but they will know the fundamentals, which means that if you go for CCTV as a defense, you are almost guaranteed to lose that.
I mean, yeah, statistically, it's tricky to hold on to. Statistically, it's very good for well put together teams to attack, as you said. Fundamentals are fun for you and me, and mainly for SQ. They know how to bring themselves into and against problems that are put before them. So they're going to be trying to stretch this as long as possible. BDS, talking of, they went for what was a tool hold, and it was well picked apart by Soniqs. The time was wasted, and coming down to that final 20 seconds on the drop and losing the dropper just based on a flash that might have popped a split second earlier, as you said, it's nothing that can truly been relied on, but it gets you the first round. Then you're on a reset, everyone's back to the medal with full pockets, so where's the medal going to stand? Another hot drone right the way through, right underneath the gym.
Just making sure they have all these cameras up and running. We've mentioned it many, many times before, Soniqs, super strong with the information game, and that is so far proven to be difficult for BDS to deal with. They keep on losing out this first pick, or the first two to go against them. And then they need to fight back. So Geo goes for the upside down rappel. They want to be bypassing the mute jammer if it would be out there. Not the case this time, and the opening will be made. Brede, falling back into these showers, needs to make sure that he is in a safe position right there, because his position is going to be next on the line.
With 4 frag grenades making their way underneath the site itself, they're going to see if they can start trying to go fishing. Lickyfack is waiting for that approach round on the strip door, and Geo's going to break their way across construction. Isolate the room, isolate the fight, and isolate the players. Make sure that they do not have those clean routes through back. There is a singular force and focus around CC from the side of BDS that's just going to be playing off to himself, but Shaiko actually been able to slip his way a little bit closer, with Lems now having a single player as a support line between the two. Soniqs is still trying to find this route through, and with Brede re-electrifying this wall, that's not getting opened this time.
Still has to be afraid though, that's why you see him juggle a little bit. He's afraid that someone might be jumping right after him, so needs that small bit of support. Holographic is coming back online after the EMP has worked out, and that means that more potentially we see the next set to be tossed in another EMP. But it should be followed up by a grenade if they want to make sure that wall opens up, and Grixer is the only one that carries one right now, and he's downstairs.
That's it right now. You can see BDS, they're still holding firm, and although Soniqs have done a lot of structural work here, push does have to come to a shove, and it's coming up here. Kansan hot droned by 2 different players to see if he can get a lead into an angle. The C4 does not quite catch the lead in, and we're finding ourselves once again in the last second push, the pop of the smoke. Kansan might utilize that, but it's Shaiko that takes care of Gunner inside construction. Renshiro's ready with open arms, but nobody seems to be hitting logistic hatch. This is going to turn into a drive right through into Jim, with EFAC getting one more on the back. Oh no, it is the hatch, and it is the kick going cold on the top floor. They cannot get that in time and get the plant down. They've got to try and push for kills. Rexon gets 2, Grixer with 1. Suddenly it's a 2 versus 1. Grixer, he's got to try and find the 2 remaining players. They're on either side. There's the first. Can he make the sprint? The pistol pops. Brede, he's out of there.
And the 2-0 is going to be BDS as they drop that diffuser. Not quite sure if they were aware, but almost getting back into it. I like the phones being used. Some nice little there's a very post coming through. And Bar Stage is up next, as I predicted. We are preventing to see CCTV, at least for now. Teams not wanting to go there as of yet. And thus the Bar and Stage is next. Now, Bar and Stage has had a interesting history, especially back when it was Bar and Stock. Almost never played, almost unwinnable due to the lack of verticality you have out there. So, you know what, they just moved that bomb chassis towards the stage area, and suddenly the site becomes viable. Suddenly, the top floor is able to be used to hold on to the side, and especially the hatch and construction is going to be crucial for it. So possibly, and most likely, the hatch will not be reinforced because you do not want to be locking yourself outside of that site. And it will be opened up, so you have the opportunity to stop any of those plans from happening. To hold on to it, we'll have the extensions towards the jacuzzi wall. Just reinforce that off, make it hard for them to get in. And of course, the CCTV balcony as well. And the logistics wall, just to make it hard for the attackers to get in there. Allowing defenders the best possible opportunity to hold onto that top floor, which is, again, so important.
BDS, if you can thread this the third round in a row, it sets you off to a very good pace, especially playing on this tertiary site. Soniqs have still been able to get themselves close, especially in that last round. And I guess that's always the threat. They can gun, and they were gunning so well in the last map that that really was the defining factor and feature, because we didn't really have that from BDS here. Brede, who I think took a while to get his first take, as OLMs gets that. The classic.
There was a drone watching it. A drone inside a gym should have been aware. You should have been going for the double at the same time. That's exactly what they're doing right now with the Selmas. And that's what they should have done from the start, but now an impact comes through, takes out one, still allows them for a bit of a breach. But it's not going to be opened up as much as they want it to be. And that's a lot of utility used. That is 1 exothermic and 2 Selma charges gone off the board.
He made the right decision there. As soon as they both got it popped open, and sure, he might have been able to electrify one, they're just going to spray him through the angle that gets opened up anyway. There's a good use of the Flores drone, and this, the strip-sided push, isn't always something that comes against EU teams. They might have to try and rebuild against it. Usually, this hold is one that's built around the plant on the stage on the far end. Soniqs, they're going for that alternate take. They're trying to put the pressure, and Alem suffers the next bout of it with a bit of an explosion, but still standing. Yeah. And Jaiko makes sure Gunnar isn't. Swings the corner, finds another for his trouble. 5 over 3 rounds. Will that keep growing?
Now, the rest of the Soniqs have come back towards the jacuzzi site, so I believe that the top floor is going to be more important than they might have thought about before. They need to get rid of these players. And the Impact EMP is coming through, instantly followed up by a grenade to clear out any piece of utility out there. Alems gets injured, and that is going to be an opportunity for Soniqs to move in now, but Shaiko looking to retake that ground.
They just slip on by, but there's 2 other players that want to find a route through, and Shaiko gets one. He's trying to find one more, pockets it, and there's Brede putting Rexon in a pocket. It's Shaiko! Finds his third, leaves Grixer long alone in stock, but Liquifac's happy to send him on his way. 3 rounds in a row.
And so far, BDS is living up to the hype that comes with them and Clubhouse in the same sentence. French flags coming out. They'll be appreciating that.
I think they need it.
They need it. They need that support. They're a map down. They know they need to perform here and after that on bank. And so far, they're doing that job for the map we're currently at. Making sure that defenses are sticking. And as the tactical timeout has been called by Soniqs, they hope to go for a bit of an adaptation there. They want to get some of these attacking rounds on the board to allow themselves that fighting opportunity on the defense themselves.
I mean, it's definitely been trickier. We talked about this on the desk. Well, I say we. I didn't. You didn't.
I didn't talk about it. I don't know.
The desk was talking about it. This map selection is tricky. Sure, both these teams have similar map pools. It makes things a little bit trickier, but they both accidentally almost ended up picking each other's best map. BDS are trying to prove that right now. They have to. They have no other recourse. They have no other response they can make. There's a bit of extra space that's afforded to them in Clubhouse. That's a difference of maybe 30 seconds on a push to a minute that seems to be scarpering Soniqs' way of broaching and approaching the sites. On border, they could be short and sharp. They could get themselves dug in, take those loose BDS players out before they could start to swing and respond. Look at BDS's difference this time round. That extra little bit of wiggle room means that they can start to play into their own. Okay, Shaiko is 7-1 after 3 rounds.
It helps.
It helps.
Brede's also hitting the mark, you know, currently 4-0. He had a very troublesome game.
He did. He took a while to really connect with it. They struggled to get their teeth into the showdown. But there was one of the things we talked about at BDS last map was there wasn't anyone properly popping off. Soniqs had 2. That is a difference maker.
It definitely is. And as we head back towards the basement, I don't think... Oh, maybe Alems is going to be sticking up, but the rest is definitely falling back. Now, also headed down the stairs. So, BDS is going for the turtle strategy here, allowing... Ooh, Oh, is that going to get it? No, that's not going to be getting the other one. That's going to be an opening, so Liquefact needs to get out very quickly here.
Yeah, he would rather keep a hold of that and put it on a hatch than sort of sit around and leave it to be easily shot at on the back end, whether they just weren't there in time or not. Either way, it means that will stay open for now and be a cause for concern. And concern was time last time round for Soniqs. Their push came down in 20 seconds. They went with the blinds, and it was a little bit waylaid, which meant that Shaika was able to strike the kit, get it cold, and suddenly you got to play a game of pick up sticks.
I mean, that was it, right? They needed to just get in and make sure that they had the opportunity to get that plan down. Then the fire started popping, then the grenades started flying in, C4s were being tossed over. Like, they were really making sure on BDS that Soniqs didn't have a single second apiece. So they need to make sure they're a bit quicker now. They can start getting rid of that utility just moments earlier. Luckily for them, there's no fire, but there's this time going to be smokes on the board. So Green Day should be a crucial pickup. Would they find him?
Liquefact is going to sit and wait patiently underneath the Moto hatch and see if he can try and remove any electronics that's coming through. You can see Soniqs is having to take a little bit more time because obviously this was played in a slightly different manner before and they went for a bit of a deep dive. Don't want to get caught out by the potential of one of the two C4s here. This is potentially prime C4 territory, and there is a player tucked around underneath. I think it might be one that finds himself a little bit isolated here. Kansan's been able to slip past. The impact DMP doesn't quite get the claw, missed the mark. The second one can't get it either. And that is both gone. That is a hatch staying hard. They have the reveal on it, hoping that they can sort of break it from the side.
It is possible, but it does require you to be very accurate with this Hibana and Skyros. Actually managed to get the hatch like that. Well done by Gunnar. And that's going to be allowing them to open up, but the impacts are coming through. Is it in time? No, it's not. Yes, it might be. Not quite sure if the hatch opened up. Yes, it has.
But Gunnar suffers as he tries to pull back. Moto will stay locked. You're looking at 40 seconds, and now the drive in the fight here through to the back end. Kansan's getting a bit of a hot drone. The grenade gets the claw, so they should be able to get that hatch, but as Rexon gets slightly revealed, he doesn't want to extend too far down. The second breach and break. We're looking at a big limitation in terms of time here once again for Soniqs. They're going to see if they can try and put pressure onto the pipes wall. They're going for the drop aggressively in. Grix around onto the back line, buy themselves some space, and Shaiko buys one more body onto blue. There's Shaiko with one more. Can he get the third? He can! Shaiko, backed up by EFAC, gets it across the board. Kansan's in the side, but Alems is there too! 4 rounds in a row.
Good waste of utility coming through. And as we have a fun fact coming up, all 4 of the semi-finalists have participated in the Hot 6 challenge. I'm not saying you're scripted.
Some teams refuse to take on. Do you know what? Talent has been begging.
We've been begging to do it.
Parker and Stokes really wanted to do it more than I think anybody.
I mean, if they have it, just bring up the hot sauce now.
I feel like Milos would just criticize the quality of the food. He'd be like, these meatballs.
They're not authentic.
I don't know who would be good at spicy.
I can take spice really well out there to say.
Yeah. They're both hyper confident.
Parker and Stokes?
Oh, yeah.
I can understand. Easy also wants to do it.
Easy the Observer wants to do it.
I've heard stories he's not too good with spice, though.
If you want to see Parker and Sam suffer the Hot Wings challenge, please tweet at our account.
It's a hot meatball.
Beg them to do it. Hot meatball.
Hot meatballs.
Hot 6.
Hot 6.
Okay, enough about that. How about this? BDS, 4 rounds in a row. It's still possible for Soniqs to pull the 2 required to have a bit of a balanced half here, but it's not that it feels like there's a bit of steam gone from the engine. It feels like BDS have had a bit of a kick into theirs here, Shaiko especially, obviously, but there's always the game of 2 halves. There's always the form and the factor that we will be over towards BDS attacking on this map, where with these bans, it's probably something where the defenders have a little bit more to work with. Kaid still on the board. You know, those claws can be very defining for certain points.
Yes, but the Thatcher is still going to be open as well. It shouldn't be an excuse for a hatch to stay close like that. Now this is going to be happening again. A bandit truck to come through. Why? Why do you just toss it up there? It happened twice in a row now. What you need to do is as simple as tossing up a Selma charge right next to it. You cannot get both. Now they need to be utilizing their EMP gadgets at the same time as well to make sure that wall opens up. Now, CCTV is going to be opened up, but Selma won't be used. In the meantime, pressure is coming down from the Oil pit,
Oil pit,
below,
yeah, it was the swing up from Oil Pit. Takes the head off of Gunner as he tried to loop his way back up to the stairs. There's a little bit of caution now being paid by Soniqs. They want to go for the pickup, but Rexon is so concerned about somebody playing inside pit underneath. It has taken 1:30-ish to get the clear over on this side. I'll say that by the time they finally put some pressure onto CC and realize it's empty, there goes Geo. He's digging his way across, and this is a slower approach than what we had last time round from Soniqs. But remember how this round went last time? The kit was lost on the roof and nobody was there to collect it. This buys Soniqs a plan B, something that I think at this point they're sort of desperately in need of.
Yeah, for sure, and there's still plenty of time to make something happen here. However, they need to be careful that they're not limiting themselves too much through a single doorway or a hallway. They need to find that opening and almost find it on LMs down below. That would have been able to open up that main stairs for a push as well, but for now, that stays locked in. They need to be utilizing the windows instead.
The minute mark rolls through, and Kansan's getting them a straight route through onto EFAC, who's tucked himself onto the hard swing underneath the logistics hatch. If it gets revealed, it is something that might be able to be pulled apart, but not really by a frag grenade. We have all the flashes in the world, but you got to have the drive behind it. That's the risk. The swing round, Shaiko cannot win this firefight. Rexon finally ends the torture the Frenchman's been able to put against them. Grixer gets the second. Soniqs, for the first time since Border, have the upper hand. They have what seems like a good lead in, and they have 30 seconds to try and turn it into the end. Gunner knows there's a play around on the back end, and Alems is able to take the fight and suddenly says, turn around, I'm behind you. Grixer gets Renshiro, though. They put the pressure on the side. It's 2 for Brede! He has the lockdown. There's the third. One more with the pistol. There's the connection of 1 versus 1. Kansan and Brede either side, but it's Brede!
One clutch from Brede. He's back at it. Was literally pinned down into that bathroom. He had to go for swings, and he managed to make them stick because the players on Soniqs too worried about the flank coming down. And that is a perfect moment for Alems to just rotate back up the red stairs, make his presence known, and allow BDS to get back into the round.
What a bit of energy that is. We talked about missing moments and players that weren't quite as loud as they could have been on Border, and how loud Soniqs were, and here it is vice versa. You take one of ours, Brede doesn't die. He has almost gone the whole half, and he sits one better than the 007 meme I know our socials are working on at this point. But still, it is entirely the factor that wasn't quite on the other side. BDS are 1 away from pulling a perfect half here, and 1 away from putting themselves 1 away from map 3, and what a return it's been.
It'll definitely be a dominant way back into this game, back into this series. After just narrowly losing out on the first Border, 7-5. As close as it gets in regulation. As the mirror windows are being set up, BDS impose a new challenge upon the attacker Soniqs. There'll be no Twitch here to use to get rid of them. They need to go for verticality instead, or remove the soft wall it's placed upon. Kansan quickly inside that garage, hoping to put some pressure down horizontally. Is that going up? Going to the top. Making sure that Cash and CC will not be staffed, will not be manned by BDS, but instead cut down by Sledge themselves.
Soniqs, they have 1 more chance here to give themselves a little bit of breathing room on the second half, and on the second swing on the tertiary site, this could be the moment. This is a very different approach in that they're putting focus onto CC. I talked about it before. The strip take isn't the most common that EU goes against. Does he expect the fight is already stacked on the window? I don't think he does. And there is an easy pickup for Kansan. He's able to pull back. Great punishment there from Soniqs. It's a growth and an ability we talked about on the previous map, and finally, for my money, we're starting to see it utilized.
Renshiro a bit too slow there with using that mirror window, but most likely was watching the hatch in case of a drop to happen. But taking out Shaiko early on, that is a big pickup. Now you need to see if you can isolate Brede, because you mentioned it before, the man does not die. And with that mirror window still being out there in construction, Soniqs do not really have any form of freedom and safety yet, until that gets taken out.
This from Soniqs is so much sharper, so much quicker. And if it comes at the dying death of this half, well, at least they're gonna buy themselves a bit of room. Renshiro's a bit panicked. He's not entirely sure where the fight's coming from. It's the grenade. Kansan, He finds his second for the round. Bounced. He's trying to keep the cool, calm collection, but there it is. EFAC now the next under pressure. Will he pull back? Grixer, they've instantly got this, the control of stage. As I said, this is how BDS are most used to suffering it, and they're suffering it a lot worse than they did before. Gio's going to go for the plant. Pulls himself off as the ping comes through. Does EFAC? No, it's being watched either side. There's one to the left, and Brede does get 2 for the trade out of 3 versus 2, but the kit needs to now be recollected and replanted. Alems, he's tucked onto the back end and the hot pings, but it's EFAC on the back line. Inside stock, they're in a pain sandwich, and it's full of the French word for it. The spray on the back is EFAC!
What a way to end this half, as they managed to, again, find themselves a way back into the round after Soniqs. They had the upper hand. They cleared out those players. They suddenly had the top flow control. They could have gone for the plant, but again, the flank, twice in a row now, hurting Soniqs. They don't have to worry about that anymore, though, as they will be heading over towards the defense themselves. The thing they have to worry about, though, is going to be the 6 rounds that BDS currently have on the board. They need to go flawless for 6 in a row themselves. Would they want to lock it off and prevent us from going to bank?
Soniqs now have to repeat the pretty tricky 2, a perfect half. Now, this was their map to opt to bring themselves to. This was them sort of making the statement, well, we enjoy this, regardless of how much you love it. We want to sort of be the end to the Cinderella story of BDS, often told on this map. And okay, BDS, you might not have the record on it that you've had for such a long time, but the rule isn't proved by the outlier, as I'm sure are many statisticians.
I mean, if anything, like an exception to the rule, right? Like proves that it does exist to some extent. But Soniqs now on that defense. They need to stall BDS as much as they possibly can. They're already getting some spots down from the prisoners that have been placed by Rexen. Shotgun looking underneath the barricade there, hoping to find someone. A long-range breach coming out from Brede to ensure that top floor from being opened up, whilst keeping up the pressure onto the garage right away. Grixer takes a little bit of damage from BDS, heavily entering from the stock area.
Oh, they're spraying through. They know there's a player they can chase here. Grixer's got himself tucked by the pool table, holding on hope. Shaiko, he took a quick entrance into stock, and he's going to try and catch maybe the rotate underneath Kansan. But he's otherwise sitting pretty there on the top of red. There's the breach, but he is isolated, and he's going to see how many bodies he can try and take without this, potentially, though. Gunnar going very aggressive on the Sing. Shaiko goes down to Grixer. Grixer almost gets caught in response, but there it is. Gunnar gets that surprise strike, takes the drop. They thought they knew where all the Soniqs players were, missing one important form factor, and now Alems. He's tucked out, and Grixer, look at this, he's taken back the territory he lost, the 2-body advantage. It doesn't matter how wounded he is. He wants to see if he can try and take on one more.
That's it, right? You need to keep up that pressure. You're still able to one-shot any given operator in the game. As Renshiro goes down by Grixer, they're unaware of the fact that he's located in that bar. Now they know that when LM's looking to hunt him down, but again, not going to be completely sure. Need to find the angle. Kenzen going aggressive up on the top floor as well. He might have been finding Brede there, who was on that drone. Phone call will definitely help trying to find the player.
Oh, no!
There's a triple kill for Grixer. Only leaving it up to Brede now. He's rotating around.
Huge play from Grixer here. Soniqs, as we said, it needs to be a perfect, and they've opened in just that manner. Brede, he's currently sitting on a 10-1, and it's got to end as a 15-1 if he wants to win this round and lock this map out as soon as possible. There is a lot of players still in front of him, and players that are hungry for the violence that's being offered. The ping on the first is his. The header Rexen is taken off very cleanly, but with 45 seconds and the smoke canisters and the swing coming through, there's a bit of a connection. A second smoke pops off. They're looking for either angle. Soniqs are sort of making the statement and spraying through the walls, but they're also not entirely overextending. They don't want to give him anything for this lock-in on this round, and now, with only about 20 seconds left, and still a C4, and still 4 guns to try and run through, it's a Grixer round.
A 4K from him to keep Soniqs in it. But again, it's only the start. They need to find 5 more if they want to have an opportunity of pushing this to overtime. and then take it from there on forward. It is a very tall hill to climb. But, you know, it is definitely possible. We've seen these crazy comebacks happen time and time again. And it does show that you have that mental fortitude that you need as a championship-winning team. So, Soniqs, can you do it here, or you're going to be trying to take it on back? Time will tell.
I mean, it's still a long road. It's still a very long road ahead of them, and that was almost the perfect start. I'm still going to put it in with a little asterisk on a single death, but the way that they moved and manipulated the play space, if I talk about how well Soniqs had the intel game driven on border, they played against BDS's there. It could turn into an undoing if it's something that starts to spiral, because it's an energy, it's momentum. It only takes one to score. It only takes one connection to go into the favor of BDS, and then suddenly maybe you start to get around being defined either side. And as long as Soniqs can try and stay ahead of that curve, oh, we've seen clutches this game already.
We've seen clutches, that's for sure. However, the worry I have is that we're headed towards CCTV, Emmy. They need to have an early victory here. They need to make a spawn kill stick. If they do so, they might have found success, but Grixer almost got his head taken off. At least this allows BDS to move in safely towards garage, towards the balcony, where they need to be to do their prep work.
Well, we talked about, obviously, Thatcher. We talked about how he is on the board, he can play against this, the chance at holding off a wall that isn't otherwise being held off. They're not sort of doing anything to immediately stop this. The approach and the breach should be able to pop off for either side. You might still be able to utilize it in some manner as Rexon decides to try and take a scrappy fight down the stairs with the door open. Well, now he's not going to be able to do the same thing, just misses the rotate round on the back, and Brede, he's confident that he'll be able to pull this off, and with my infinite knowledge of being able to see, he will.
Yeah, shouldn't be too much of an issue. And now BDS, they've done step 1 and 2. The next, what they need to do is actually find themselves a way to take that garage under control, to clear out the rafters. But as you just saw, there's a player that rotated back down. It's Gunner, who dropped down all the way towards the basement. You might be wondering what he's going to do there. Well, he has the opportunity to rotate to Oil Pit, for example. So if they do instead move up the staircase, they could pressure him.
That was, I believe, the impact there, utilized to get rid of the claymores on the door. They're going to see if they can try and prep themselves up. The danger of the run out here and just make them second guess as the pressure starts to come across the front and the face of the site. It's still on BDS to try and force either the next bit of movement. There's everything to catch the grenades over the top. They're instead maybe going to see if they can try and fish some pressure underneath. Kansan is offering some of the swing support to Rexon, who's still locked in, and you can see pockets and pockets full of ADSs and catches here. If it hits the disc first, it means that it might destroy either side. It's a jump out that is punished. Gunner got on the back of EFAC, and there's one more on the stairs. Brede watching. Kansan and LMs suddenly find one extra either side. Geo, he's in a close fight, and he wins it out. Pixel perfect had to be. As I said, clutches aren't the most uncommon in this showdown, but now, in a brutal manner, they've been able to take control of rafters. The next is theirs, Brede. Geo is all that is left here for Soniqs on this map. He's got to hold off the French tide that coincides with a drive right through onto the back of the server stack. There's hot pings on one. He knows he's being watched. The flashes, they're either side. Brede, he's going to get the stick. Lems is pre-firing the angles. Geo, he goes for a smoke on it. It's too late to stop the plant. 45 seconds separates it. I don't know if we'll see it. We will not.
As Lems closes it out, and BDS, they find a bounce back. After a close loss on the first with a 7-5, they find themselves a 7-1 victory, showing that they're here